Thanks, Taranita. Okay, so I'm going to give a bit of a recap to start with, because particularly for those of you who are new to Sangonite, most years on Sangonite, we have a theme for the year. So the theme for this year is what's called the 5 spiritual faculties. So this is a traditional Buddhist teaching, goes right back to the Buddha himself, and it's a way of talking about certain qualities that are useful or even needed if we are going to practice Buddhism, develop a Buddhist practice. So these 5 qualities are, well, actually, I think I'll just see if I can get my diagram out. I haven't got it handy. Has anyone got the 5 spiritual faculties? They can put it up. All right. There's just way too much stuff on my desktop to find it. Yeah, the 5 spiritual faculties. So you have mindfulness, which you're probably all familiar with. That's the one that sits at the center. So if you can imagine, you've got a square at the center. Oh, thanks, Tim. That's fantastic. Thank you. So you've got mindfulness, which acts as a kind of mediating quality of these other 4 qualities. And these other 4 qualities, you have energy, faith, wisdom, and meditation. And they act like pairs, so they balance each other out. So you have faith and wisdom, which are balanced with each other. So faith is, you might not be familiar if you're very new to Buddhism, as that being a quality that exists within Buddhism. The idea of faith in Buddhism is somewhat different perhaps to what we're used to coming perhaps, say, from other spiritual faiths. Faith is very much a kind of active principle, if you like, and it's something that arises on the basis of practicing Buddhism, practicing the Dharma. And that quality is balanced with wisdom. So wisdom in this sense is not just worldly knowledge. In fact, it's not worldly knowledge, it's spiritual wisdom. So things like spiritual insight, which is represented by this word prajna. Prajna means knowing in the deepest spiritual sense. And then you have these other 2 qualities within the 5 spiritual faculties of energy and meditation. So energy, well, we need energy to do anything, but we also need energy to practice the spiritual life. But energy here is also particular in the sense that it's energy sometimes referred to as energy in pursuit of the good. So it's the energy in the pursuit of positive mental states, the development of awareness, etc. So that is balanced with meditation, and that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. So you can see that these qualities are there's a more active kind of quality and a more, you could say, passive quality represented by meditation. Okay. Thanks, Tim. So that's a brief recap, just to put you in the picture with our theme for this year, the 5 spiritual faculties. So today I'm going to talk about meditation, which is represented by this word samadhi that you saw there on the diagram. So samadhi is a Buddhist word, comes from a language called Sanskrit. And samadhi literally means, well, it's made up of 2 bits, sam and di, and these 2 words together, they mean something like being put together, something being put together or brought together. So it's very much, samadhi is very much about the quality of what we call in Triratna integration. So we speak quite a lot about integration as a as a core spiritual principle that we have. So integration, what does that mean? So you could say loosely that the practice of mindfulness leads to integration. The practice of meditation leads to integration. So, generally speaking, most of us find ourselves in a place of, well, we might be somewhat integrated, but we're also perhaps conscious that there's a lot of us that is not very integrated. So we have different desires that pull in different directions. We have different thought patternings that pull in different directions. And so samadhi is about bringing ourselves together. Sometimes samadhi is translated in the tradition as concentration, but I think this is rather a deceptive word. And generally speaking, concentration is far too kind of intellectual a word to represent what's meant by samadhi. Although, through meditation and the process of integration, we are looking to be able to kind of stay with one object. For instance, you'd all be familiar with by now with the mindfulness of breathing meditation and the Metabhavan meditation, where we're taking this one particular object, say the breath, and we're trying to stay on that object. And the effect of doing that is to bring those disparate parts of the mind, those disparate energies, together into a whole. So, most of that time, our minds are in a state of flux, a sort of continual stream of thoughts, emotions, feelings, responses, along with all the perceptual information that's coming into us all of the time. And this stream of our experience is often quite quite up and down. So samadhi is really about bringing that stream of our experience under some kind of control and integrating all the sort of psycho-physical energies that are there. So the practice of awareness generally is about trying to see all these disparate elements of our experience in a way that starts to draw them in together. So when the Buddha talked about meditation, as he did 2,500 years ago, he gave an analogy of what it was like to become integrated in meditation. So at that time, they had soap in the Buddha's day, and the soap seemed to be made of these sort of flakes of kind of powder. It probably came from, almost certainly came from something organic rather than petrochemicals. So these flakes of powder, and what you would do to create the soap is you would mix them with water. So you can imagine you've got this sort of dry pile of flakes and you've got some water, and you mix them together, and the water soaks in to the flakes, soaks through them, and they start to loosen and become more liquid with the effect of the water, and they start to come into a homogeneous whole. So the water and the flakes start to mix into one, if you like, and become whole. And you could make a ball of soap out of that, which you could then use. So the Buddha said this is what it's like to become absorbed, to become integrated, for all the different sort of psycho-spiritual energies of the mind to start to come together in this way. It was like soap and water mixing together. And it's quite like the idea of those sort of dry flakes, a pile of dry flakes, because sometimes when I wake up in the morning, that's what I feel, like a pile of dry flakes. And yeah, maybe a bit of meditation can help to sort of create some movement in that, and some coming together in that pile of dry flakes. So yes, so what else can we say about samadhi? Well, in the process of meditation, we generally use an object as a point of focus, the breath being a popular one. I mean, the reason we choose the breath is because it is a physical experience. So most of the time, most of us, I would say, I can't speak for you directly, certainly for myself, I can spend a lot of my time just going around in my head. So we're sometimes not even conscious that this is what's going on. When we start to practice awareness and meditation, we can become a little more conscious of this, that we spend a lot of time just in our heads, following a train of thoughts. It's not even a necessarily very connected train of thoughts. In fact, it can be quite a disconnected train of thoughts. But we're very attracted to following our thinking. And we can spend hours like this, We might actually be thinking about something in a concrete, creative way, but a lot of the time we're just kind of daydreaming, or we're going off on one of our particular stories, which we have, like, what can a story be? It can be something like, so-and-so said such and such to me. Why are they so mean? They don't really understand me, etc., etc. Nobody understands me. Why do I live in this world when nobody understands me? And this story kind of goes off and extrapolates like this. And ... you can fill in the details for yourself. And most of these places that we go in the mind are not actually helping us. So you've got the mind as a tool. So there's the mind, the thinking mind, the mind that we use as a tool when we're trying to work out a particular problem, whether it's something practical, or we've got to think about something, or we've got to write a report or something like that. That's one, use of the mind, and the mind can be this incredibly creative tool. But a lot of the time, we're with the mind in a way that is just not very creative. So in Buddhist meditation, we are trying to pick up and notice the ways that the mind acts uncreatively, and start to do something about the way that the mind acts uncreatively, and try, as it were, to, with awareness, bring all the energy that's going into those particular patterns of the mind, become conscious of it, and start to release some of that energy back into that whole, to make it more available to us. So one of the best ways to do this, and the most immediate ways to come out of our being in our head in that way, is to come into the physical body. So the physical body is our great ally in meditation, in this practice of samadhi. And in a sense, it's the place where all meditation starts. Yeah. And once we start to become aware of the body, start to come out of the head, all the energy that's been kind of going around in circles can start to calm down. The energy that's caught up in going round in the mind starts to become more available to us. So the mind can start to calm, but it can also start to concentrate. So we may have noticed this already, particularly if we're new to it, or even if we've been practicing it for a long time. we're using the breath, and our awareness starts to settle upon it, and it starts to be able to stay with the breathing. And this can feel like a huge relief, particularly, if we are new to meditation. I remember when I first started, it was such a relief to kind of come out of the thinking mind and into awareness of the body, and to focus upon the breath. And we use up tremendous amounts of energy every day in this thinking mind. Energy that could be available to us for other things. So yeah, we can start to become focused, aware, absorbed into the breath or some other aspect of the physical body. And the immediate goal of Buddhist meditation practice is to get into a state that's called access concentration. Access concentration. So access concentration is where our mind is starting to go beyond what are called the 5 hindrances. So the 5 hindrances are a categorization, if you like, of the different ways that the mind can get preoccupied and into loops. So one of those is restlessness and anxiety. So the mind is caught in restless thinking. So it might be, running over a particular problem. It might be something, we've got to do later on today. It might be going down a shopping list. It might suddenly remember something. And the energy is constantly sort of up in this mental activated state. So this is restlessness and anxiety. Or yes, of course, we're worrying about something. We become aware of that when we settle into the body. That hindrance can subside. Another thing that often preoccupies us when we stop and take a look at the mind is the energy of what we call desire. So this is this can be anything. So it usually arises out of, in some way, not wanting to be here in the meditation, not wanting to be here in this moment. So we start thinking about things that seem more interesting than just being here following our breath. So, we start to fantasize about food, about sex, about shopping, all the kind of classic things that the mind might go to. Or we just start going on into a kind of wandering kind of fantasy. And it's the tendency of the mind, the thinking mind, just to continue to proliferate in this way. There's a word for it from the Buddhist tradition. So, 2,500 years ago, people had discovered this and thought about it, the Buddha and others. And the word is prapancha, and prapancha means literally something like proliferation, literally means proliferation. So the mind continues to proliferate. It just sort of throws one thought up after another. And we just sort of wander around in these sort of endless thoughts. And often it's because we don't want to come back into our sort of direct experience of this moment. Sometimes we don't want to come back to our direct experience because there's something in our direct experience that we don't want to look at. That may be one reason. But another reason is that it's just the habit that we've tended to build up to do that, to follow the wandering mind. So all of this can be represented by the hindrance of desire. Another thing that we can get into with the mind is ill will. So ill will is, or just as it says, sometimes called aversion. It's a tendency to want to kind of, again, sort of get out of this present moment by sort of pushing away something in our experience. So it may be that, somebody said something hurtful towards us earlier in the day, and our mind is preoccupied with that. And that hurtfulness becomes defensive, and we try to push away whatever that person said, or push away that person in our mind's eye. And we can get into a cycle of ill will, sort of thinking not necessarily very friendly thoughts about people or situations. So again, we can become aware of that. As soon as we become aware of it, realize that it's a hindrance, the awareness can come back to the object of concentration, which is the breathing, and we can carry on. And the other hindrances that we can get are sloth and torpor. So sloth and torpor is when we tend to feel very tired, very sluggish, and we just sort of start to nod off in the meditation. I'm just going to put a little diagram up here to demonstrate these hindrances. So yes, sloth and torpor. I think if we've done any meditation at all, we're probably already quite familiar with sloth and torpor. And sometimes in meditation, of course, we just feel tired. In which case, probably the best thing is to go and have a lie down and come back to meditating when we are feeling a little more energized. But sometimes in the meditation, it's also that we can, the sloth and the torpor, the sort of sloth is said to be physical sluggishness, and torpor, mental sluggishness. It can be that we are experiencing these qualities because in some way or other, we don't really want to be here in the meditation. So we're kind of falling asleep as a way of getting ourselves out of this current experience that we're having. So just find these. Oops, seem to have, there we are. So hopefully you should see on your screens a diagram with a figure of a person sitting in meditation. So this is, you could say, what the experience of these hindrances feels like energetically. So we have sloth and torpor. There's a kind of sinking feeling, the energies, as it were, sinking downwards, and we almost literally want to sink downwards. With restlessness and anxiety, the energy is going upwards, it's going up into the head, and we're preoccupied with a lot of thoughts. With desire, we're trying to move away from our current experience by reaching out of ourselves. So it's a bit like the energies going forward. And within ill will, it's a bit like we're pushing back, we're sort of pushing back away from our experience. We don't want to be in our experience. The fifth hindrance is doubt and indecision. So this is where we can't decide, to be here and meditate. There's something holding us back from just sort of committing to doing the meditation practice. So we're questioning whether meditation works, questioning what we're doing. We may be having self-doubt as to whether we're somebody who can do meditation. And all of this tends to be going on in the head, round and round. So just going to draw up another diagram now, which is what we call the antidotes to these hindrances. In this case, again, looking at it more from a kind of energetic point of view. So hopefully you'll see on your screens there, again, the same figure and the same hindrances of restlessness, anxiety, sloth and torpor, desire, ill will, and doubt and indecision. So these antidotes are a way of, when we first become aware that we are stuck in one of these hindrances, usually the first thing to do is just to notice it and come back to the object of concentration, which is the breath or the metta if we're doing the metta bhavana. But also, if that doesn't work immediately and these hindrances continue to persist, we can notice how the energy is either going up, going down, going out, or kind of pushing out, or reaching out. And we can employ our awareness just to come back into the body. So come back to wherever it is we're focusing on, the breath, the center. So we might be focusing on the breath in the lower abdomen or in the chest, and we just come back. If we're doing the metta bhavana practice, we can also come back to the quality of metta in our hearts. So it's just like an energetic returning. So if it's ill will, we just come forward, as it were, energetically back into the center. If we're reaching out in desire, something that's not here, then we just return back into the center. The same for restlessness, same for sloth and torpor. Come up through the body or down through the body. And doubt and indecision is also very much a mental hindrance. So again, just bringing the awareness down through the body helps to counteract that hindrance. Okay, so how are we doing for time? So what we're going to do this evening is, in a moment, we're going to do a meditation. So I'm going to introduce us to a mindfulness meditation practice. And we'll do what I've just been talking about, essentially. We'll become aware in ourselves. We'll arrive in our bodies. We'll check in with our experience, see what's going on, take a sort of weather check of our experience. We'll bring ourselves to the object of concentration, whether that's just the physical body in general or the breath, if we prefer. And then we'll check out these 5 hindrances as well, and employ some of these antidotes that we've been talking about. And that meditation will probably go on for about, probably go on for 20-25 minutes. And then after that, we're going to go into small breakout groups. So this is a common thing that we do on Sangha night. We have breakout groups, which usually is a chance to have a chat. If we've been given a talk by somebody or presentation by somebody, we usually chat that over in small groups. It gives us more of a chance to have a smaller discussion. But today we're going to do it slightly differently, in as much as the focus of the breakout rooms will be the meditation that we've just done. So this might be, some of you who are new to the center, this way of doing things might be a little bit new for you. even some of you have been coming along a while, it might be new for you. It is a technique that we employ on many of our meditation classes, like our Going Deeper mornings and our Wednesday lunchtime classes. So really, it's a way of talking. It's a little bit different. So we're trying to talk about our direct experience in the meditation, and whoever's facilitating your group will, be there hopefully to help you out with that and sort of draw out what's been going on in the meditation. So we're talking, as it were, about our direct experience of the meditation that's just happened. Of course, if we're happy to do that, I mean, it's, only share what you feel comfortable sharing. That's always, that's always the rule here. So we don't want you to, overshare something, or you share something you don't feel comfortable with. But it is a really wonderful way of communicating with each other. It's very helpful for ourselves because it helps for us to clarify that internal experience, that internal world to ourselves. But also it's a communication to other people. So quite often, the experience that we're having, other people are having or have had a very similar experience. So it really opens things up for other people as well. So yes, once we've done the meditation, we'll go straight in to that, or we might have a few minutes in between just for Taranita to prepare the breakout rooms. Okay. So I've been talking quite a lot, so I'll stop now, and I won't actually. I'll carry on talking, but we'll go into a meditation, and the talking will be slower.
I have a question.
Do you? Could it wait to the small groups, Francis?
Yeah.
So setting ourselves up for meditation. I know we're in front of a computer screen and Zoom and all that, but let's close our eyes and try and forget about the screen. In fact, if it works better for you, I suggest turning away from the screen so that you're not tempted to look at it and don't feel the kind of interference of it. That can be quite useful. So you still be able to hear me, which is all you really need. And then so making sure we've got a good posture. So meditation doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's all sorts of things that support the practice of meditation. From more simple things like setting up a good posture to a general lifestyle. For the moment, we're just focusing on the posture. So there's these two elements we can focus on to get a good posture. One is making sure we've got a stable base. So good contact with the floor, or the cushions, or the chair, whatever we're sitting on. Ideally, having our knees on the ground, or if we're in a chair, making sure our feet are firmly planted. I guess you could say we're trying to pick up the earth element. And stable base, not only is it a physical base for supporting our meditation, it's also support for the mind as well. It enables us to relax physically and mentally, knowing that we are got a supportive, stable posture. And the other element is having a sense of aliveness and awakeness. So this can be found through the uprightness of the spine. So meditation, as much as anything, is what you could call a energetic practice. And when we meditate, energy can be released through the body and travel up the spine. So if that's not something you're familiar with, don't worry about it. You may pick up a sense of this. So having an upright spine, one thing, it keeps us awake, keeps us alert. It also allows for certain freedom of energy. So the chin slightly tucked in. You can imagine, if we like, a thread attached to the crown of the head. And it's just being very gently tugged upwards. Just giving us a very gentle sense of lift through the spine. And once we set up the posture, we can just let everything relax. So let's give up to gravity, whatever can be given up to gravity. Noticing if we're holding on anywhere. Common places to hold on are the shoulders. You might be slightly hunched, just allowing them to be relaxed. The jaw and face can be another place where we hold on. Just allowing the face and jaw to be relaxed. And then often the lower abdomen, also below the navel and the belly. Often we can clench in that part of the body. In order to help these possible tension spots to relax, we can just imagine breathing into them, and on the out breath, letting all the tension go. Another good way to start a meditation is to take a bit of a weather check of our current experience. So noticing if there's any particular mood present. Sometimes it's useful to check in with mad, sad, bad, glad. Just to get a general sense of one of those moods being present. Or perhaps there's no particular mood present. We're just okay sitting here. Also check in with thoughts. Whether it seems like there's a lot of thinking going on. Or whether the mind is relatively calm. Remembering the diagram, part of the weather check. Feel like the energy is going downwards into sloth and torpor. Some part of us wants to sink into sleep or something like it. Or does the energy feel very up? Restlessness, anxiety, busy mind. Also on the horizontal plane of the diagram is the mind wanting to go to experiences that are not here. The desire for something else in the form of fantasy or craving. And as it were, pulling us forward. Sometimes you can become aware of a sense of lack. Something feels like it's lacking in this moment. Just being aware whether that's the case, whether something feels lacking, or whether we are just happy or just okay to be sitting here with our current experience. And also on that horizontal dimension, also be something that might be pushing away. So rather than a lack, there's a not wanting to be here, because of pushing away, aversion to what's here. So there's no judgment at all about anything that's arising in our experience with meditation. What is here is simply what is here. And the great gift that meditation provides is the possibility to become aware. So if we notice any of those hindrances going on, then we just come back to the center. So we're going to start introducing awareness of the physical body. So we can unhook from the thinking mind and come directly into the physical body. So there's a way that we can become aware of the physical body that's very direct and immediate. It doesn't require a thinking mind at all. We can come aware to start with of the sensations in the head and face. So looking for the actual physical sensations that are there. Sensations in the lips, in the jaw, around the eyes. So usually when somebody says, become aware of a certain part of the body, you have a kind of mental picture of that part of the body. We're trying to go beyond the mental picture to the actual awareness of the sensate in our experience. We're really trying to feel into the face and the jaw, like awareness is seeping out of the thinking mind where it normally lives, and seeping into physical body. And you start to see from the body itself, rather than from the head looking down at the body. So we're going to descend with our awareness down through the body to the lower abdomen. Going from the head and face, aware of sensations in the neck and throat. So again, looking for the direct physical sensate experience. You may find it in sensations of tension in the neck, and kind of softness in the throat area. And going from the neck and throat area down to the area of the diaphragm. So this is the bottom of the rib cage. The diaphragm is a muscle that controls the breathing, runs along the bottom of the rib cage. It can be an area where there's quite a lot of tension, or at least a lot going on physically in that part of the body. Again, looking for the direct experience of the physical sensations. You may pick up on sensations to do with the movement as the diaphragm moves up and down. Maybe tingling sensations along the bottom of the ribs. You may just become aware of sensation without being able to label it particularly. Not really interested in the labeling, we're interested in awareness, as it were, becoming one with the physical experience. And going down Again to the lower abdomen. So this is the area of the belly below the navel. So allowing awareness to sink down to the lower abdomen. And again, looking at the direct physical sensate experience. You may be aware again of movement associated with the breathing in the lower abdomen, the rise and fall of the lower abdomen with the breathing. Sensations more on the surface of the abdomen, the skin, the tingling sensations. So it's like we're trying to see directly from that part of the body, as if we were looking out through the abdomen, as it were. Aware whether attention wants to spring back to the thinking mind. This is its tendency to want to return to the thinking mind. If it's doing that, just unhooking again, going down through the body and back to the lower abdomen. If we are able to stay in awareness in this way, you may notice that the thinking mind has calmed down. Those hindrances that we were talking about have abated, at least for the time being. Maybe a greater sense of peace, of ease. And just to finish with, we can allow awareness to spread out and take in the whole body. notice a greater sense of spaciousness. You take in whole body awareness. Sometimes the body can appear like a very less solid thing than it is in our thoughts about it. More like the body appears as a porous space. Letting go of any wall effort that we've been making. Just allow the meditation to, as it were, freewheel. And when we feel ready, let's bring meditation to a close. So we'll just have a minute or two for Tarani to get the groups ready.